After sensing Xu Qing's somewhat abnormal strength, the captain decided to unlock the second seal, causing his aura to erupt with overwhelming power. His entire body was enveloped in golden light that resembled divinity. But unlike holy divinity, it carried an extremely domineering force capable of suppressing everything. The captain waved his hand, and the golden light transformed into a gigantic palm that pressed Xu Qing toward the sea as he roared that Xu Qing would become the third princess. The attack surpassed the power of 2 life fires, and Xu Qing realized that only the strength of 3 life fires would allow him to evade it directly. Refusing to lose, Xu Qing activated the Golden Crow refines all life art. The Golden Crow merged with his body, covering his purple Taoist robe with an illusory imperial robe formed from feathers. Its head transformed into a crown above his head, while its phoenix tail became streamers and a cloak of black flames behind him. Xu Qing now looked like a young emperor, faintly resembling the Golden Crow emperor he had once seen in the dragon carriage. Even the captain was briefly shocked by this transformation. Xu Qing then launched his strongest punch, combining the power of his life lantern and life fire with his battle intent, ferocity, and the violent physical strength of the Golden Crow. The fist expanded until it became comparable to the captain's gigantic golden palm. The 2 attacks collided with deafening force, producing a terrifying shockwave. Xu Qing was sent flying and spat out blood. He could no longer maintain his emperor-like form, and his right arm was dislocated. The captain also vomited blood and was thrown backward, while the rhombus-shaped rune in his eyes flickered and dimmed. His right wrist was fractured as well. Xu Qing forcibly pushed his dislocated arm back into place with a sharp crack, while the captain used golden light to freeze and heal his injured wrist. The captain then claimed that Xu Qing had already reached 10% of his strength but still declared that Xu Qing had lost. At that moment, the sea snake they had wagered on was dragged from the sea by a tentacle extending from the void. The captain was about to celebrate his victory when a strange glint appeared in the snake's eyes. It suddenly bit through its own neck with all its strength and began devouring its own body. Flesh spilled out from the broken body, creating a terrifying scene. Xu Qing calmly declared that he had won. The snake's head then trembled and fell into the sea, while Xu Qing's shadow silently returned to him. The captain was forced to accept his defeat. Soon afterward, the Diamond Sect's ancestor finally broke free from the seal and returned. He locked onto the captain with anger and embarrassment, feeling that he had disgraced himself and that Xu Qing's shadow had clearly contributed more than he had. The captain awkwardly attempted to negotiate with Xu Qing, but Xu Qing repeatedly reminded him that he had lost. Even when the captain tried to point out that Xu Qing's spirit ticket seemed to have dropped again and claimed that he had a better idea, Xu Qing continued to insist that he had lost the bet. Eventually, the captain's breathing became hurried and his eyes reddened. He gritted his teeth and agreed to pretend to be the third princess. After entering the cabin to prepare, he emerged about an hour later in the appearance of the third princess. His disguise was almost perfect. His delicate face, bright eyes, white teeth, slender hands, aura, and energy fluctuations were all imitated flawlessly. The only obvious flaw was the large amount of hair on his legs. Xu Qing was fascinated by the transformation and examined him for a long time, making the captain annoyed and embarrassed. The captain then asked Xu Qing to hand over the third princess's storage bag. Xu Qing took it out and poured its contents onto the ground. A large number of items piled up like a small mountain, most of them clothes. There were also black stones emitting dense anomalous substances and many small crystal bottles. Each bottle contained a black pearl covered in runes. Xu Qing recognized these as the objects the third princess had previously thrown, which had blasted through the outer shell of his magic ship. The captain explained that they were called Candle Yin Lightning, one-time use magic artifacts unique to the Sea Corpse race. Their power varied according to the strength of the person who refined them. A Candle Yin Lightning once refined by a Sea Corpse race ancestor had been comparable to a nascent soul attack and had been sold for a high price at an auction in Purple Earth. The lightning was also unusual because its power could increase when nurtured with blood, and it was especially lethal against people whose blood had been used to nurture it. The captain then explained that he had paid a huge price for a profound disguise technique. This technique could copy not only a target's appearance, but also the target race's aura and energy fluctuations. Since he had studied the third princess for a long time and understood her thoroughly, he could imitate her almost perfectly. He believed that once they entered the Sea Corp's race's territory, they would not be exposed unless they stayed there for too long or encountered a golden core expert who deliberately investigated them in detail. He then gave Xu Qing a white robe and a small bottle. The bottle released corpse poison that could conceal Xu Qing's aura and alter his appearance. After putting on the robe and carrying the bottle, Xu Qing's aura immediately changed. Corpse poison faintly spread from his body. His appearance became withered, and he now looked no different from an actual member of the Sea Corp's race. Xu Qing understood that such a strange item could not have been made by an ordinary cultivator. Giving him a deeper understanding of the captain's many unconventional methods, the captain then solemnly explained their plan. He would act as the third princess, while Xu Qing would be his Dao protector and escort him back to the Sea Corp's race. From that moment onward, they had to remain completely in character and could not reveal any flaws. Xu Qing nodded in agreement. The captain immediately began acting like the third princess, coughing, stretching his graceful waist, sitting elegantly to the side, extending one long-haired leg, and lazily eating an apple while swinging his leg. He then called Xu Qing, "Little Qing," and ordered him to massage his legs. Xu Qing merely glanced at him, took out some poison powder, and prepared to apply it to his hands. The captain immediately retracted his leg and became serious, saying that he had suddenly remembered that they should discuss their plan first. A black wooden ship tore through the sky at tremendous speed, breaking through the clouds and producing loud sounds as the air was ripped apart. Its destination was the enormous island of the Sea Corp's race, which was 10 days away, according to the nautical chart distributed during the Seven Blood Eyes War. Although it was called an island, its area was immense, reaching approximately 10% of the non-Wang continent and far exceeding the islands of the merfolk race in size. During the journey, Xu Qing and the captain spent an entire day discussing how to infiltrate the Sea Corp's race. The captain had originally intended to improvise after entering the island, but Xu Qing rejected this approach. After considering the situation, Xu Qing set a clear objective. They had to reach the location of an ancestral corpse statue as quickly as possible. Once they had this objective, the plan became much simpler. The fastest way was to make the Sea Corp's race's cultivators personally escort them to that location immediately after they entered the island. The key to achieving this was to appear seriously injured. Since the third princess had barely escaped after suffering heavy injuries, the first thing she would naturally do after returning would be to recuperate. Furthermore, because of her identity, she would certainly be sent to an ancestral corpse statue. According to the information the captain had purchased, the ancestral corpse statues not only had the ability to transform the dead into members of the Sea Corp's race, but also possessed astonishing healing abilities. The captain therefore became suspicious of Xu Qing's eagerness to carry out the plan. Xu Qing explained that if all the injuries were inflicted at once, outsiders would immediately realize that they were recent and fake. Instead, he intended to add new injuries every day during the 10-day journey. By combining the old wounds with the new ones, their condition would appear much more realistic when they arrived. The captain suspected that Xu Qing might be taking revenge under the cover of this plan and carefully observed his expression, trying to determine whether he was lying. However, Xu Qing calmly met his gaze without avoiding it. The captain sighed, remembering that he had personally taught Xu Qing this method. Now, even he could no longer determine whether Xu Qing was telling the truth. Still, the captain was decisive. He took out a dagger and stabbed himself in the stomach, causing blue blood to flow out and soak his robe. He then acted as if it were nothing serious, saying that it was only a small matter, and even continued eating an apple. Xu Qing shook his head and pointed out that injuries inflicted on oneself were different from wounds caused by an enemy. To make their plan convincing, the captain would have to suffer injuries that appeared to have been caused by someone else. Xu Qing then offered to do it for him. The captain immediately stopped chewing and glared at Xu Qing. After staring at him seriously for a moment, the captain sighed, handed Xu Qing the dagger, spread open his arms, and told him to begin. Xu Qing walked over with a slight smile and stabbed the captain in the stomach. After pulling the dagger out, he stabbed him again. As he continued, Xu Qing felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. The captain endured the pain with hurried breathing. Xu Qing then pulled out the dagger and stabbed his thigh before striking his chest with the power of the sea transformation art. The captain spat out blood. His face turned pale, but Xu Qing did not stop. He continued slashing rapidly, and soon the captain's entire body was covered in blood, leaving him looking extremely weak and miserable. The captain finally shouted for Shu Qing to stop. Shu Qing stopped, though he felt somewhat regretful that he could not continue. His heart was greatly relieved after beating and injuring the captain. He then looked at the captain's left leg and began wondering whether he should injure it the following day. The captain noticed Shu Qing's gaze and immediately became wary. He looked Shu Qing up and down before pointing out that, as the third princess's Dao protector, Shu Qing was supposed to protect her, since the princess was so severely injured while Shu Qing remained completely unharmed. The situation would not make sense and could expose their disguise. Shu Qing's smile froze. The captain then declared that, in order to complete their great plan, Shu Qing would also have to suffer some injuries, and he would personally help him. With a smile that was not quite a smile, the captain took the dagger back from Shu Qing and fiercely stabbed it into Shu Qing's thigh. Shu Qing instinctively wanted to dodge, but he had to admit that the captain's reasoning was valid. He therefore took a deep breath, endured the pain, and allowed the blade to pierce his thigh. The captain became excited and immediately leapt up, stabbing Shu Qing 3 more times in the stomach. He also left a bloodstain on Shu Qing's neck and created wounds near many of Shu Qing's vital organs. As Shu Qing's flesh became badly mangled, he suddenly stepped back and looked at the captain with a hoarse voice. He pointed out that the captain had many injuries on his right leg but none on his left leg, which was equally unnatural. Shu Qing then waved his hand, summoned a dagger, and pierced the captain's left leg. The captain bared his teeth in pain and immediately stabbed Shu Qing again. From that point onward, the two began attacking each other, constantly adding injuries to balance out any suspicious inconsistencies in their disguises. After a long time, they finally stopped, panting heavily as they leaned against the ship's railing. By then, both of them were covered in wounds and looked as though they had suffered extremely severe injuries. The captain then weakly complained that there was probably no need for them to injure themselves so severely every single day, especially since they would still need to flee when they were pursued. Shu Qing agreed with the captain that they could escape for 7 or 8 days before being caught again. However, he then asked what plan the captain had for escaping after they entered the Sea Corpse race's territory, were discovered by the Sea Corpse race, and had their identities exposed. The captain raised his brows, took out the half-eaten apple he had been carrying, took a large bite, and proudly claimed that he already had a plan for escaping. He told Shu Qing not to worry too much and said that risking one's life should be exciting enough to be satisfying. So Shu Qing should simply take good care of himself. Because Shu Qing was his subordinate, the captain said he could reveal the plan, but emphasized that it was his greatest secret and worth 1,000,000 spirit stones. Shu Qing looked deeply at the captain. Seeing the captain's shameless expression, he abandoned the idea of giving him a disordered teleportation talisman, feeling that there was no need. When the captain noticed Shu Qing's silence, he became surprised and guessed that Shu Qing probably had his own method of escaping. However, he believed that no matter what method Shu Qing possessed, it could not be more powerful than his own. He secretly decided that when Shu Qing eventually needed his help, he would demand 1,000,000 spirit stones from him. Thinking about this, the captain felt extremely satisfied. 7 days passed in this manner, and the ship was now only 3 days away from the Sea Corpse race's territory. Apart from meditating on the ship, Shu Qing and the captain also communicated with each other. Since the captain wanted Shu Qing to behave more naturally, he began telling him more information about the Sea Corpse race. After discussing most matters concerning the Sea Corpse race, the captain began explaining the background of the third princess. He said that she was actually a pitiful person and, in reality, hated the Sea Corpse race even more deeply than the 7 Blood Eyes did. This was why he had previously told Shu Qing that she would help them. The captain then looked toward his storage bag, where the third princess of the Sea Corpse race was being kept. He explained that the third princess had been born into the human race. Her father had once possessed astonishing talent and had been regarded as a heaven's chosen with the potential to walk the path of the ancient kings and sovereigns. However, he eventually betrayed the human race and voluntarily transformed himself into a sea corpse. After becoming a sea corpse, his cultivation rose rapidly, and the ancestor of the Sea Corpse race personally appointed him as the current Sea Corpse king. This Sea Corpse king cultivated a special technique of the Sea Corpse race called the Supreme Emotion Severing Art. He had cultivated it to the extreme and even comprehended a domain known as Forgotten Sorrow. His actions had clearly been carefully planned. When he betrayed the human race, he took his wife and 3 daughters with him, sealed them within the territory of the Sea-Corpse race, and transformed them into Tao-severing spirits. In simple terms, every time the Sea-Corpse king severed one of his relatives, his cultivation would break through a bottleneck. Many years earlier, he had killed his wife, his eldest daughter, and his second daughter in front of his youngest daughter, the third princess. The third princess had not yet been killed only because her father had not reached another cultivation bottleneck. This was the reason the captain had brought her along. Although she appeared foolish and seemingly liked to cause trouble, this behavior was actually something she had learned since childhood to protect herself. In reality, her hatred toward her father had already reached an extreme level, and it was far more intense than the hatred the 7 Blood Eyes held toward the Sea-Corpse race. Because of this, she had always enjoyed causing trouble. Her true purpose was to seek death and obtain a temporary release from her suffering. The captain had warned her not to cause trouble during this operation. But his warning had been useless because her desire to die had already penetrated deep into her soul. According to the information the captain had purchased, the third princess had already died 7 or 8 times over the years. However, her father had extracted half of her soul and stored it beside himself. Because of this, he could recreate her at any time, meaning that even if she died outside, it was not a serious problem. Xu Qing's expression changed as he listened to this information. The captain then told him that the information contained a sentence once spoken by the Sea-Corpse king and asked him to listen carefully. The mortal world has smudged the painting. The brush cannot draw off the fleeting years, and a sense of loneliness is left behind. How can the sorrow be forgotten? The words echoed across the ship, and an indescribable sadness spread through the surroundings. Xu Qing remained silent. Beneath the fragmented face of the god, everyone had their own stories, and most of those stories were tragic. The Sea-Corpse king's method of killing his own relatives to advance his cultivation seemed tragic. But compared with everything Xu Qing had witnessed since childhood, it was not enough to shock him. Even so, Xu Qing still took out a healing medicinal pill and threw it to the captain, intending for it to be given to the third princess. The captain was stunned and asked whether Xu Qing was saying that his injuries were serious and wanted him to use the pill to recover. Xu Qing calmly clarified that the pill was for the third princess. The captain immediately began teasing him, mockingly saying that Xu Qing could also be gentle sometimes and asking whether he had taken a liking to the third princess and truly intended to become her boy toy. Xu Qing expressionlessly stared at the captain's shameless face without answering. The captain continued teasing him, joking that if Xu Qing was discovered to be looking at his beloved third princess, the female disciples in the sect would probably cry. The more he spoke, the happier he became. He put away the medicinal pill, took out a tangerine, peeled it, and began eating it. When he saw Xu Qing starting to frown, the captain was about to continue provoking him, but Xu Qing interrupted him. Xu Qing reminded the princess that they would arrive at the Sea-Corpse race's territory in 3 days and that some of her injuries would soon reappear. The captain's words immediately stopped. Xu Qing then walked toward him, took out a dagger, and stabbed it into the captain's stomach. The captain gritted his teeth, took a deep breath, and also pulled out a dagger. Glaring at Xu Qing told the captain, who was disguised as the third princess, that is his Tao protector. He would also need to suffer more injuries so that their escape would appear believable. The captain immediately tried to stab Xu Qing, but Xu Qing retreated and explained that the princess was only at the perfected qi condensation realm, so her recovery speed was slow. Since they had been continuously pursued, the princess's injuries should naturally have become increasingly serious and she would not have been able to heal herself. In contrast, Xu Qing was a foundation-building cultivator with an extremely strong recovery ability, so he did not need to suffer additional injuries. If he were wounded too severely, their disguise would appear too artificial. The captain was momentarily stunned by this explanation. Taking advantage of the opening, Xu Qing rushed forward and slashed at him repeatedly. The captain eventually clutched his stomach and dodged the attacks, glaring at Xu Qing. However, when he saw Xu Qing's completely serious expression, he could only sigh and accept the situation. The captain then explained that although the princess and her Tao protector had been constantly pursued, it was impossible for them to have had absolutely no time to rest. This was especially true as they approached the Sea-Corpse race's territory, because their pursuers had become more restrained and had not continued chasing them without pause. Xu Qing thought about it and added that the closer they came to the clan's territory, the more severe the princess's old injuries had become. By the time they reached the territory, she had been on the verge of death and therefore had to be immediately sent to a forbidden area to recuperate. The captain looked bitterly at his injuries, then at Xu Qing. Under Xu Qing's serious and unwavering expression, he finally sighed, closed his eyes, and accepted the explanation. Xu Qing felt satisfied. He then went over and stabbed the captain 5 more times, making his condition appear extremely serious and weak. Only after the captain looked sufficiently injured did Xu Qing finally end their staged pursuit. Time passed slowly, and 3 days soon went by. The black wooden ship finally approached the territory of the Sea Corpse race. When the vast island continent appeared in Xu Qing's sight, his expression immediately became solemn. He took a deep breath and carefully examined his body, confirming that there was nothing abnormal. Even then, he was still not completely at ease, so he had the shadow release the aura of the Sea Corpse race. This made Xu Qing essentially no different from an actual member of the Sea Corpse race. In addition, through the Golden Crow refines all life technique, Xu Qing himself could emit a portion of the innate corpse poison possessed by the Sea Corpse race. With the shadow's aura and the corpse poison concealing his identity, his disguise could be described as nearly perfect. The captain did not possess the same methods, but he had clearly been preparing for this infiltration for a long time. Therefore, Xu Qing was not worried that the captain would be exposed. The captain then fully entered his role as the third princess. Clutching his stomach, he leaned weakly against the railing and said that he had finally escaped and returned home. The sea wind blew against his blood-stained black hair, causing it to flutter and revealing the delicate and beautiful face beneath it. His pale skin and the complicated emotions in his eyes made him look almost exactly like the real third princess. He even seemed to have completely understood and reproduced her state of mind. If Xu Qing had not personally witnessed the captain's disguise and been familiar with his true identity, it would have been extremely difficult for him to recognize the captain at that moment. When the captain thanked Xu Qing for protecting him, his body appeared to be on the verge of collapse, and his voice was weak with a trace of gentleness. The hand gripping the railing trembled slightly, as though he were desperately suppressing the injuries inside his body. It seemed that the moment he relaxed, all of his injuries would erupt and immediately take his life. A nearly fatal wound was visible on his chest. If the attack had deviated even slightly, it would have pierced directly through his heart. Even though it had missed the heart itself, it still appeared to have damaged his heart meridian, making the injury look extremely dangerous. Xu Qing was also heavily wounded in appearance. His originally white Taoist robe had been dyed blue by blood, making his already pale appearance look even more ghastly. His breathing was unstable, as though he were forcibly enduring severe injuries. His most serious wound was on his neck, which appeared as if his windpipe had been slit. Although the injury had recovered somewhat, he could not speak much. Blood could still be seen seeping from the edges of his robe. Faced with the captain's words, Xu Qing remained expressionless and showed no obvious emotion. Ignoring his own injuries, he merely cupped his fists and bowed to the captain, continuing to maintain the image of a severely wounded Dao protector. At that moment, a powerful fluctuation suddenly swept over from the front and instantly enveloped the entire black wooden ship. The ship stopped in midair. Xu Qing immediately understood that this fluctuation was not emitted by a cultivator. Instead, it came from the power of the array formation protecting the Sea Corpse race's territory. Because the Sea Corpse race was currently at war, its protective formation had been activated permanently. The formation could prevent outsiders from entering the territory while also allowing the Sea Corpse race to rapidly arrange and coordinate matters within its territory. Xu Qing understood that the formation's examination of their identities was the first test of their infiltration. However, both he and the captain had already prepared for this moment. As the power of the formation spread across them, the captain immediately released a specific energy fluctuation. Xu Qing did the same, opening the small bottle he had prepared and allowing the corresponding energy fluctuation to spread outward. The protective formation rapidly swept over the two of them and then acknowledged their identities, allowing them to pass. This caused Xu Qing to develop an even higher opinion of the captain's preparations. The captain had clearly anticipated the various methods the Sea Corpse race might use to identify outsiders and had prepared the necessary means in advance. After passing the first test, Xu Qing looked down at the vast island continent of the Sea Corpse race. The island was so enormous that it resembled an actual continent, and its environment was completely different from anything Xu Qing had seen before. They were currently at the coastal region. The coastline was covered with enormous vegetation that resembled lingzi mushrooms. But these plants were completely black. They emitted dense corpse poison as well as an astonishing pressure. Each black lingzi was more than 1,000 feet long. At a glance, there appeared to be roughly 100 of them scattered throughout the coastal waters and extending along the coastline. Numerous berths had been constructed from bones on each enormous lingzi. At those berths, a large number of warships shaped like coffins were waiting to set off. Beneath the black lingzi, countless tentacles grew outward and hung down toward the ground and into the sea, creating a strange and terrifying scene throughout the coastal region. The black wooden ship finally entered the territory of the sea corpse race. The cultivators on the shore were absorbing anomalous substances, while ropes had been extended from the coastline to connect with the boats floating on the sea. From this, it was clear that the coastline was a massive port, and in fact, the entire coastline of the sea corpse race seemed to function as a port. The sky above the island was covered by thick, gloomy dark clouds. Teleportation arrays constantly flashed within the darkness, with cultivators continuously teleporting out and returning. Numerous Sea Corps race battleships and countless Sea Corps cultivators filled the island. Explosions and sonic booms frequently resounded throughout the area, but the cultivators rarely spoke, making the atmosphere especially oppressive. The land itself was black and covered with enormous lingzi resembling those seen along the coastline. Although their colors were slightly different, most of the lingzi growing along the shore were red. Giant trees were scattered everywhere across the island. These trees were already rotting and constantly emitted dense anomalous substances, while countless black butterflies flew between their branches and trunks. Long rivers as red as blood flowed across the land. The entire world resembled the netherworld. Although the sight was shocking, an indescribably terrifying pressure also spread in all directions, making the entire island seem extremely dangerous. When Xu Qing and the captain's black wooden ship was frozen in the air above the sea, coffins immediately rose into the sky from the coastline below. In an instant, 16 ancient coffins approached and surrounded the black wooden ship, forming what appeared to be a formation. Streaks of black lightning spread from the coffins and connected them to one another. Then, the coffin directly in front of Xu Qing and the captain suddenly trembled. Its lid opened, and a sea corpse covered entirely in black fog slowly walked out. Because of the dense fog, his appearance was blurry, and only a vague human outline could be seen. The instant he appeared, his sharp gaze locked onto Xu Qing and the captain. The power fluctuations coming from his body clearly belonged to a late-stage foundation-building cultivator. Although he had not activated Mystic Brilliance form, the pressure created by his 90 magic apertures still caused Xu Qing's heart to sink. This person was clearly the cultivator responsible for guarding the port below, and he had personally appeared because of Xu Qing and the captain's arrival. Xu Qing immediately lowered his head and followed the etiquette of the Sea Corps race that he had learned during their journey, showing respect to the other party. The Sea Corps cultivator swept his gaze over Xu Qing and the captain before speaking to the captain in a deep voice and greeting him as the third princess. The captain, who was disguised as the third princess, held onto the railing and coldly asked where his father was. The Sea Corps cultivator replied that the king was currently on the battlefield and had not yet returned. The captain immediately questioned why he had not knelt upon seeing the third princess and demanded to know the meaning of the blockade surrounding them. He then took out a black pearl and threw it directly at the Sea Corps cultivator. The black pearl exploded upon striking the cultivator's body. However, despite being hit by the explosion, the Sea Corps cultivator merely shook slightly and was completely unharmed. He expressionlessly looked at the captain before lowering his head and kneeling on one knee. Although the attack had failed to injure the cultivator, it had clearly placed additional strain on the captain's already severe injuries. The captain spat out a mouthful of blood but forcibly endured the pain. He then ordered the Sea Corps cultivator to escort him to the land of the ancestral corpse statue so that he could heal his injuries. The late-stage foundation-building Sea Corps cultivator calmly refused. He explained that before the king had left, he had specifically instructed that if the third princess returned, she was to be sent directly to the palace and was not allowed to go anywhere else. After saying this, he waved his right hand. Immediately, all 16 surrounding coffins erupted with the aura of cultivators. At the same time, the black lightning connecting the coffins spread toward the black wooden ship and began guiding it forward. This situation was not beyond Xu Qing and the captain's expectations. Their plan had already taken this possibility into account, and they had prepared a way to deal with it. The captain then spat out another mouthful of blood, deliberately displaying an extremely weak and nearly dying state. He looked at the late-stage foundation building C-Corp's cultivator and suddenly revealed a sweet, beautiful smile. He said that it was fine if he died in the palace, because after he revived, he would have a reason to devour that cultivator and everyone in his team, and that it would be fun. He then urged them to hurry. Although the captain was disguised as the third princess and wore a sweet, innocent, and beautiful expression, the meaning behind his words was incomparably sinister. His words carried a deep resentment and a trace of madness that seemed to be slowly spreading. The late-stage foundation building C-Corp's cultivator immediately stopped. He knew the third princess's personality very well. The third princess often courted death by repeatedly leaving the palace. And he also knew that every time she revived, the king would arrange for some of his subordinates to be devoured by her in order to accelerate her revival. Because of this, the threat contained in the captain's words was not an empty one. After remaining silent for a moment, the C-Corp's cultivator turned his gaze toward Xu Qing and coldly told him to leave. Xu Qing's expression instantly became cold. The corpse poison within his body spread outward, forming an invisible storm around him. His voice was hoarse as he accused the cultivator of trying to steal his credit. Almost at the same moment Xu Qing finished speaking, the black coffin behind him suddenly opened. A female C-Corp's cultivator rushed out from within. The fluctuations of two life fires erupted from her body, and her speed was extremely fast. In an instant, she had already arrived beside Xu Qing. This female C-Corpse had been a merfolk when she was alive. The moment she got close, she immediately attempted to suppress Xu Qing. Clearly, the late-stage foundation building C-Corp's cultivator had sent her out because he wanted to seize the credit for escorting the third princess back. Xu Qing's gaze remained cold. The instant the merfolk woman approached him, he violently slammed his body backward and collided directly with her. After realizing that a female C-Corp's race cultivator intended to suppress him and seize the opportunity to escort the third princess, Xu Qing deliberately struck first. Immediately after the collision, Xu Qing immediately reached out and grabbed at the merfolk woman. The female C-Corp's cultivator's expression changed. Xu Qing's terrifying physical strength shook her mind, causing the life fires within her body to sway violently. She immediately tried to retreat, but Xu Qing's speed was far too fast. As he reached toward her, a powerful suction force seemed to spread from his hand, causing her movements to freeze momentarily. In the next instant, Xu Qing arrived directly in front of her. His right hand pierced through her chest and seized her heart before ruthlessly squeezing it. With a squelching sound, the heart of the merfolk C-Corp's cultivator collapsed. Although members of the C-Corp's race were not particularly sensitive to pain, such a severe injury still caused the female cultivator to let out a mournful cry. However, she was clearly not an ordinary cultivator. Despite her grievous injury, her eyes were filled with ruthlessness as she opened her mouth and bit toward Xu Qing's neck. Biting was a commonly used combat method of the C-Corp's race. Just as her sharp teeth were about to reach Xu Qing, he sneered and violently smashed his head into her mouth. The impact produced a cracking sound as her teeth shattered, while her face was badly mangled. An even more miserable cry rang out. Xu Qing's expression became sinister. He also opened his mouth and bit down fiercely on the merfolk C-Corpse's neck. The bite contained astonishing force and instantly tore off a portion of her neck. Xu Qing then inhaled deeply. Dense anomalous substances immediately surged out of the merfolk C-Corpse's body and crazily entered Xu Qing's body. The female cultivator struggled desperately, but Xu Qing maintained a firm grip on her, completely suppressing her and preventing her from escaping. He continued absorbing the energy within her body. The entire process lasted only 6 or 7 breaths. In that short period of time, all the anomalous substances within the female C-Corpse were completely drained. Her life fires were extinguished. Her magic apertures dried up, and her entire body rapidly withered until she became a dried corpse that collapsed to the side. However, she was not completely dead yet and continued twitching weakly. Seeing this, the captain smiled sweetly and walked unsteadily toward the female C-Corpse, joking about how amusing it was that the young lady had become deflated. Xu Qing then turned around and looked toward the Three Fires Foundation building C-Corp's cultivator who was standing in the air. There was still blue blood at the corner of Xu Qing's mouth. While his gaze was cold and emotionless, he told the Three Fires cultivator to let him swallow 9 more C-Corpses and said that he could give the other party the credit for them. The Three Fires Foundation building cultivator became somewhat solemn upon seeing Xu Qing's current appearance. Xu Qing's earlier words had served 2 purposes. One was to seize the credit for killing the C-Corpses, while the other was to test the other party. During the war, some disciples of Seven Blood Eyes had used various methods to infiltrate the C-Corps race's territory. Although all of those infiltrators had eventually been discovered and killed, the return of the princess could also have been a scheme arranged by Seven Blood Eyes. If the Three Fires cultivator had truly left earlier, he would have reported the matter, and the other C-Corps race members would naturally have investigated and screened the princess and her escort. However, Xu Qing's actions now caused him to abandon that suspicion. The array formation had already confirmed the princess's identity. Furthermore, the person escorting the princess had devoured anomalous substances, something that only members of the C-Corps race dared to do. The fact that Xu Qing had so easily killed a Two Fires subordinate also proved that his strength was extremely powerful. His cultivation was already not far from reaching the Three Fires Foundation building level. After confirming their identities, the Three Fires cultivator raised his hand and waved. The lightning surrounding the 16 black coffins immediately dissipated, and the coffins fell down. He then ordered that the princess be sent to the forbidden area of the 7th Ancestral Corpse statue. At that moment, a lingzi growing on the ground suddenly began twisting. Large amounts of black fog poured out from it. The black fog churned and gathered, eventually transforming into a huge octopus. The octopus floated over. One of its tentacles wrapped around the black wooden ship, while its other tentacles extended across the ground into the distance. It then carried Xu Qing and the captain rapidly away. Behind them, the Three Fires C-Corps cultivator lowered his head and respectfully saw them off. He also spoke in a low voice, apologizing to the princess and explaining that his previous disrespect had merely been part of his duty. The captain lightly dismissed him and told him to leave. The Three Fires cultivator immediately thanked the princess before departing. He returned to the coastline and continued guarding against foreign enemies. Xu Qing and the captain's ship were then carried rapidly forward by the running octopus, heading toward the location of the 7th Ancestral Corpse statue. In reality, this destination had already been included in their plan. The C-Corps race possessed a total of 9 Ancestral Corpse statues. These statues were scattered throughout different regions and were all heavily guarded. The 7th Ancestral Corpse statue was relatively close to the sea, although it was somewhat far from the royal city. Because of this, it had become the captain's first choice. The most important reason was that, according to information the captain had purchased, the Golden Corps experts originally guarding the 7th Ancestral Corpse statue had been transferred to the battlefield. The front line was under intense pressure, so the C-Corps race had been forced to mobilize its powerful cultivators. As a result, the current guardian of the 7th Ancestral Corpse statue only possessed the cultivation base of the perfected foundation building realm. Xu Qing had originally been somewhat hesitant about relying on this information. However, the captain had guaranteed that there was no problem with the intelligence. So Xu Qing did not question the matter further. As they continued forward and entered the inland region, the world belonging to the C-Corps race gradually revealed itself completely to Xu Qing and the captain. The ground was pitch black, and countless strands of black grass covered the land. These black grasses contained an astonishingly dense amount of anomalous substances. The concentration was so terrifying that the entire region was practically no different from the forbidden zones Xu Qing had previously entered. The C-Corps race regarded areas filled with extremely dense anomalous substances as sacred lands, because such an environment was naturally suited to them. However, for ordinary cultivators who absorbed spirit energy, this place was essentially a poisonous land. If they remained there for too long and the anomalous substances accumulated in their bodies without control, the possibility of mutation would increase infinitely. The captain clearly possessed a method that allowed him to temporarily ignore the poison of the anomalous substances. Xu Qing did not know the exact reason, but he felt that it was highly likely related to flesh containing divinity. Xu Qing also realized that the incident on Binding Island could not have been the captain's first act of madness. Judging from the captain's behavior, He had probably done many other crazy things before. As they continued forward, Xu Qing observed more of the environment. Besides the black grass, blood-colored lingzi, and withered towering trees, there were also blood-colored rivers flowing across the land. The sky above the sea corpse race's territory was completely pitch black. But the darkness did not completely obstruct their vision. Countless red eyes were hidden within the clouds. Whenever these eyes opened, light spread down toward the ground. Because the eyes opened and closed at different times, the land beneath the black sky was constantly illuminated by scattered, dim light. Although the light was weak, it was sufficient for cultivators to see and observe their surroundings. Xu Qing soon discovered the true owners of those eyes. A huge eye suddenly crawled out from the clouds, revealing the body of a massive rotting fish. A tentacle grew from the fish's head, and an eye was located at the end of the tentacle. When the eye was closed, it was difficult to notice. But once it opened, it emitted a bright light resembling a lantern. Countless such fish were densely packed within the clouds above the sea corpse race's territory. From time to time, they would sink down and fly through the sky, causing their lantern-like eyes to open and close and continuously spread light across the land. The strange sight made Xu Qing feel extremely unusual. At the same time, he also saw many sea corpses moving through the territory. The members of the sea corpse race came from all kinds of races, and most of their appearances belonged to species Xu Qing had never seen before. As Xu Qing and the captain continued moving forward, he suddenly witnessed a scene that shook his mind. In front of them was a large area of land where all the lingzi and giant trees had been cleared away. When the octopus carrying them passed over the area, Xu Qing saw countless sea corpses digging into the ground. The shape of the object they had excavated resembled a palm. However, this palm was enormous, reaching several thousand feet in size. It looked as though the remains of an ancient giant had been buried beneath the earth. As the sea corpses continued digging, the ground was torn open and rotting flesh was gradually exposed. More sea corpses gathered around the excavation site. They cast spells and carried out some kind of mysterious ritual, clearly attempting to accomplish something extraordinary. After the ship carrying Xu Qing left the area, a roar that shook the heavens and earth suddenly erupted from behind them. Xu Qing's heart trembled. He immediately turned his head and saw a gigantic hand stretching out from the ground. The hand was 10,000 feet long and rose toward the sky as though it wanted to grab hold of the heavens. Seeing this, Xu Qing took a deep breath and immediately understood that the sea corpse race was attempting to revive the ancient giant buried beneath the ground. Apart from the sea corpses and the strange creatures in the sky, the sea corpse race's territory also possessed a unique species known as the ghost dream butterfly. These were butterflies with terrifying ghost faces on their wings. From the captain's common knowledge lessons, Xu Qing knew that the ghost dream butterflies were believed to be the true natives of the island continent. They had appeared on this land before the sea corpse race arrived and had existed there for a long time. There were countless ghost dream butterflies across the island continent. As Xu Qing and the captain continued forward, these butterflies floated toward them and danced around them. Under normal circumstances, such a scene might have appeared beautiful and dreamlike. However, the malevolent ghost faces on the butterflies' wings were fiercely devouring the anomalous substances in the surrounding area. Because of this, the sight became sinister, eerie, and strange rather than beautiful. For some unknown reason, a large number of ghost dream butterflies began gathering around Xu Qing. Even more butterflies could be seen flying toward him from a distance, as though they were all being attracted to him. This caused Xu Qing to frown. Behind him, the captain coughed softly and then jokingly remarked that his Tao protector seemed to be attracting bees and butterflies. Xu Qing glanced at the captain and felt that he was too immersed in his role. If he wanted to speak, he should simply speak properly instead of making a soft cough that sounded like a moan. However, Xu Qing said nothing because he knew that although the Diamond Sect's ancestor had remained silent and had not appeared during the past few days, he had likely secretly recorded some of their scenes, and those recordings might be useful in the future. The captain was about to continue speaking when the array formation's screening power descended again and swept over the black wooden ship. The octopus immediately crawled onto the ground while the ghost-faced butterflies spread out. And Xu Qing solemnly looked toward a huge building in the distance. Two enormous stone pillars formed a headless doorway, within which a black vortex rumbled and spun, sending red lightning in all directions. More than 1,000 sea corpse race cultivators sat cross-legged on red lingzi outside the entrance, guarding the passage tightly. Some appeared human while others had non-human bodies. And several powerful gazes caused Xu Qing to feel danger. The array formation swept over the ship. But the mark left by the Three Fires Foundation building cultivator resonated with it, causing the screening fluctuations to dissipate. The octopus then carefully moved forward. And the surrounding Sea Corpse race cultivators stood up and greeted the captain as the third princess. Xu Qing remained calm on the surface but was extremely vigilant inwardly, knowing that even the slightest mistake could expose them. The intense pressure caused the material in the small bottle concealing their identities to evaporate even faster. While even the captain began to feel nervous, when they were close to the giant stone pillar gate and countless gazes focused on them, the captain suddenly threw a black bead aside. After the explosion caused the surrounding auras to fluctuate, his impatient expression changed into a sweet smile. Despite his pale and weak appearance, the smile seemed even more charming. He asked the surrounding cultivators if they had seen enough, causing them to immediately lower their heads. He then ordered Xu Qing to help him inside. Xu Qing admired the captain's acting ability, lowered his head, took his hand, and escorted him from the ship toward the enormous black vortex. Compared to the vortex, the two of them were as tiny as ants, and its terrifying power caused their minds to tremble. Nevertheless, they continued forward at a steady pace and stepped into the vortex together. Their minds shook as they entered another space and appeared in a red world. The ground was covered by a blood-like red liquid, while more than 70 stone pillars surrounded the area, with a Sea Corpse race cultivator sitting on each one. The most striking sight was a colossal statue more than 30,000 feet tall, standing with its feet submerged in the pool. Its red body was covered in spots and resembled a corpse roaring toward the heavens. One hand reached upward while the other rested against its chest. Countless tentacles spread from its body, each containing eyes that reflected entire worlds. Its terrifying aura resonated with the Sea Corpse race cultivators present, as though the statue itself were the source of their race. The pressure here was dozens of times greater than outside, causing the concealment material on Xu Qing to evaporate rapidly. A crack even appeared on the captain's face before mysteriously healing, though Xu Qing could sense unstable fluctuations from him, showing that he also could not endure the environment for long. The two soon realized that this was the seventh ancestral corpse statue, one of the 9 ancestors of the Sea Corpse race. Although it was neither the largest nor the strongest, its status was supreme, and even the Sea Corpse king had to bow respectfully before it. The 9 ancestral corpse statues contained the secret of the Sea Corpse race's birth. While the red pool beneath the statue naturally produced a sacred liquid used to transform new clan members and heal injuries, dozens of Sea Corpse race cultivators were recovering in the pool, including several Two Fires cultivators and an injured Three Fires cultivator. However, what shocked Xu Qing and the captain most was the red-robed boy sitting cross-legged on the statue's hand. Xu Qing recognized him as the Sea Corpse race Golden Core cultivator who had previously walked toward the Pearl Islands. The captain realized that his information had been wrong, perhaps because the previous guardian had been replaced. Xu Qing understood how dangerous their situation was. Dozens of Two Fires cultivators were nearby. More than 1,000 cultivators guarded the outside, and a Golden Core expert capable of killing him with one slap was sitting extremely close to them. The pressure was also weakening their concealment, and any disturbance could attract even more experts. Xu Qing suppressed his nervousness and transformed it into determination. Since he had already come, he decided that he had to obtain some benefits. Noticing the madness in the captain's eyes, the two exchanged a glance and moved forward. As they approached the pool, rotting corpse hands rose from the ground and formed steps beneath their feet instead of attacking them. Only a few cultivators on the surrounding pillars opened their eyes, and after recognizing the third princess, they withdrew their gazes. The Golden Core boy also remained meditating with his eyes closed. Xu Qing secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The captain quickly entered the pool and found a position close to the statue's feet, occasionally shifting himself in an attempt to touch the statue completely. Xu Qing also entered the pool and immediately sensed that the red liquid contained a mysterious power that was neither spirit energy nor anomalous substances. It was pure nourishment containing soul power. And even merely entering the pool caused the magic apertures in his body to tremble. Xu Qing immediately realized that the pool could greatly assist in opening magic apertures. He sat down and carefully observed the surrounding cultivators before cautiously absorbing the power. He knew he could not open his magic apertures here, as the fluctuations would expose him instantly. Instead, he decided to absorb and store the energy in his body, saving it for when he left. As he circulated his cultivation base, blood-colored energy flowed into his body from the pool and gathered in his dantian. The red spirit liquid released a soul-stirring might, causing his unopened magic apertures to tremble continuously. Shu Qing suppressed his breathing, carefully checked his surroundings, and continued absorbing the precious power directly under the noses of the enemy. The area surrounding the seventh ancestral corpse statue was normally extremely quiet. The sea corpse race did not allow its clansmen to break through near the statue, and healing in the blood pool beneath it required sufficient status or contributions to the race. Therefore, very few cultivators usually appeared there, and even during the war, everyone remained respectful and dared not disturb the sacred place. Infiltrating the sea corpse race's holy land was extremely difficult because of its layers of protection and array formations. Although there had been several such incidents throughout history, most of those infiltrators had not come for the blood pool but for the 9 ancestral statues themselves. These statues were made from extremely rare and mysterious materials that seemed to exist only in the statues. Their materials were incredibly sturdy, could rapidly recover even after being damaged, and would lose their profound properties once removed from the sea corpse race's island. Because of this, even after repeated attempts by powerful races to investigate or seize them, the 9 statues had remained intact. To the sea corpse race, the statues were sacred holy objects, and anyone who harbored designs on them would be treated as a major enemy. The most recent infiltration had occurred 100 years earlier, when a foundation building cultivator secretly entered the area, absorbed a large amount of spirit liquid, and escaped alive. The sea corpse race had pursued him for many years, but the cultivator repeatedly survived dangerous situations and was eventually taken in as the son-in-law of a powerful figure, forcing the sea corpse race to temporarily put the matter aside. That cultivator was none other than Old Master Seventh of the 7th Peak of the 7 Blood Eyes. Now, a similar incident was occurring beside the 7th ancestral corpse statue. Shu Qing carefully absorbed the blood-colored spirit liquid while remaining extremely cautious of the surrounding dangers and the golden core cultivator. He repeatedly reminded himself not to be greedy and planned to leave as soon as his body was full. However, his shadow soon entered the pool and discovered that it could also absorb the spirit liquid. Shu Qing then secretly placed the black iron stick into the pool, allowing the diamond sect's ancestor to absorb some as well. After realizing that both of them could benefit from the spirit liquid, Shu Qing secretly activated Golden Crow Refines All Life, causing a large amount of the red liquid to flow into the totemic tattoo on his back. The captain quickly noticed Shu Qing's astonishing absorption speed and became envious because Shu Qing was absorbing faster than him. After making sure no one was paying attention, the captain took out a small bottle and began collecting the blood-colored spirit liquid. The bottle was mysterious and could hold a large amount, but it was soon filled. The captain then calmly took out another bottle and continued storing the liquid, using one container after another until his speed of collecting was no slower than Shu Qing's absorption. Shu Qing noticed this and glanced at him with a frown, while the captain responded with a provocative look. Shu Qing chose not to argue with the lunatic and continued reminding himself that he should only take enough. After the shadow, the diamond sect's ancestor, and himself reached their limits, he intended to leave. However, realizing that the closer he moved toward the ancestral statue, the higher the quality of the blood-colored spirit liquid became. Shu Qing slowly approached it. As he got closer, his absorption speed increased even further, and the same happened to his shadow. The diamond sect's ancestor, however, soon reached its limit and could no longer absorb. Shu Qing eventually arrived at the foot of the statue and decided that he would leave once he and his shadow were completely full. The captain followed him to the opposite foot of the statue, unwilling to be outdone by his subordinate. He felt that Shu Qing had been absorbing for far too long and that he could not allow himself to lose in a contest of madness. When Shu Qing saw the captain take out 10 bottles at once to accelerate his collection, he immediately realized that the captain was becoming too greedy and that their prolonged stay could easily expose them. After another period of absorption, Shu Qing's body finally reached its absolute limit. The blood-colored liquid had filled him to the extreme, making him feel as though his body was about to explode, even though his appearance remained normal. At the same time, his shadow sent him a feeling of complete satiety. Shu Qing then realized that Golden Crow refines all life still seemed capable of absorbing more. Since his body, shadow, and black iron stick were already full, only the Golden Crow remained. He pressed his back against the ancestral statue and quietly circulated Golden Crow refines all life. The power of both the statue and the blood pool immediately surged toward him, causing ripples to appear in the surrounding water. Shu Qing hurriedly suppressed his absorption speed until the ripples disappeared, then continued absorbing with extreme caution. The captain saw this and, after looking at Shu Qing and then at the bottles around him, gritted his teeth and took out another 10 bottles to increase his collection speed. After some time, Shu Qing suddenly sensed that something was wrong. When he used Golden Crow refines all life against the statue, he felt that, besides the massive qi and blood power flowing into him, a terrifying undercurrent was rapidly forming inside the statue at the place where his body was pressed against it. This substance could not be seen or sensed by outsiders and could only be detected because Shu Qing was using Golden Crow refines all life. It seemed to be a mass of impurities that had accumulated inside the statue during the absorption process. Because the impurities could not leave the statue, they continued gathering together and produced extremely unstable fluctuations. Shu Qing immediately realized that the undercurrent could explode with the slightest stimulation and that the power contained within it was terrifying. Since he was directly beside it, he would definitely be enveloped if it exploded. Feeling an intense crisis of life and death, Shu Qing immediately restrained Golden Crow refines all life and carefully ended his absorption without disturbing the dangerous substance. However, once the suction force disappeared, the undercurrent slowly floated upward inside the statue and became even more unstable. Shu Qing glanced at the Golden Core cultivator sitting cross-legged nearby, then silently stood up and carefully began leaving without making any sudden movements. The captain was stunned when he saw this, but Shu Qing signaled him with his eyes to leave. The captain was reluctant because he felt that he had not obtained enough and that his actions had been far less outrageous than those of Shu Qing. He thought that if he was likely to be discovered when leaving anyway, then he might as well do something even more shocking so that Shu Qing would have to admit that he was inferior in madness. Shu Qing immediately sensed the madness in the captain's eyes and realized that something was wrong. So he quickly accelerated his departure. At that moment, the captain took out a piece of flesh filled with a powerful divine aura and swallowed it. His entire body suddenly rumbled as dazzling golden light erupted from him, awakening all the Sea Corpse race cultivators nearby. His life fires fully activated, and he removed his seal, causing his aura to surge violently. Then, completely ignoring the surrounding Sea Corpse race cultivators and the Golden Core expert, the captain pounced directly toward the foot of the 7th ancestral corpse statue and opened his mouth, fiercely biting down on the statue's toe. Shu Qing was shocked when the captain suddenly returned to his former madness. With bloodshot eyes, the captain rushed toward the 7th ancestral corpse statue and bit off a small piece of its toe before swallowing it. The statue was made of a special material that was extremely difficult to destroy, and the captain had fully stimulated the divinity within Binding's flesh in order to take that bite. Before the statue could recover, he had already swallowed the stone. The Sea Corpse race cultivators resting nearby were startled and stood up one after another, while the cultivators sitting on the dozens of pillars also opened their eyes and stared at the captain. At that moment, a terrifying Golden Core aura erupted from the palm on the statue's chest. The Golden Core boy sitting there opened his eyes and looked at Shu Qing, causing Shu Qing's body and mind to tremble, before turning his gaze toward the captain, who immediately retreated, after seeing the clear bite mark and the missing piece on the statue's toe. The Golden Core boy calmly asked how the two intruders wanted to die. His Golden Core pressure spread out, causing lightning to rumble and the surroundings to tremble as though a world-destroying power was suppressing everything. Just as the Golden Core boy stood up, however, his expression suddenly changed. An extremely unstable undercurrent rapidly rose within the statue and surged toward its head. The moment the boy finished speaking, the force reached the statue's nose and gently struck the inner wall. An earth-shattering explosion immediately erupted from the nose, shaking the entire forbidden area and even affecting the outside world. The explosive force was so powerful that the statue's nose was instantly destroyed and shattered into pieces. The Golden Core boy, being the closest, bore the brunt of the impact. His body was blasted apart. Blood sprayed from him, and he was sent tumbling into the distant wall. Many foundation-building C-Corps race cultivators below were also affected and spat out blood. They stared at the statue, which had now lost its nose, with horror and disbelief. Soon, mad anger rose in the eyes of all the C-Corps race members, and their killing intent caused the weather in the forbidden area to change. The Golden Core boy, who had been blasted into the wall and was vomiting blood, let out a furious roar and demanded to know what the captain had done. His roar even suppressed the rumbling of the lightning, and all eyes immediately focused on the captain. The captain's earlier bite had only taken away a small piece of the statue's toe, but the destruction of its nose was an entirely different matter. Everyone understood the connection between cause and effect. They had clearly seen the person disguised as the third princess nibble on the statue's toe, and then the nose had exploded immediately afterward. Even the captain himself was dumbfounded. He also felt that the explosion should be related to his bite, believing that the piece he had bitten off had triggered some kind of reaction within the statue. However, he could not understand how a bite to the toe could cause the nose to explode despite the enormous distance between them. While the Golden Core boy furiously roared, Xu Qing did not hesitate. He quickly picked up a piece of the statue's shattered nose that had landed beside him and turned to flee. At that moment, most of the anger was focused on the captain. The Golden Core boy immediately ordered the other intruder to be killed as well before charging toward the captain. The captain's eyes widened when he also picked up a fragment of the nose. He then unleashed his speed as the seals within his body were undone one after another. His cultivation instantly rose from 2 fires to 3, before unexpectedly reaching the level of 4 fires. Monstrous divinity spread from his body as he desperately escaped. However, the Golden Core boy was even faster and caught up to him in the blink of an eye. The captain spat out blood and used an unknown secret art to escape again. The Golden Core boy's eyes were bloodshot and filled with madness. Such a humiliating incident had occurred while he was responsible for guarding the statue, and his killing intent toward the captain had reached its peak. This kind of incident had not occurred in the C-Corps race for many years. It would have been understandable if an unstoppable expert had caused the damage. But the intruders were merely foundation-building cultivators. His emotions fluctuated even more violently when he discovered that the toe of the ancestral corpse statue had already recovered while the nose had not. He tried to convince himself that the nose had simply suffered more damage and therefore needed more time to recover. To the C-Corps race, whether the nose could recover or not represented 2 completely different outcomes. If it recovered, the incident would still be serious. But once the invaders were killed, the matter could eventually be resolved, and the race would merely become more vigilant in the future. However, if the nose could not recover, the consequences would be terrifying. The Golden Core boy knew that the ancestral corpse statues had been damaged and even blasted open by others in the past. Yet they had always recovered within a few breaths. Even much heavier destruction had been restored in roughly 15 minutes. Therefore, he refused to believe that the statue's nose could truly be permanently damaged. Yet, after looking again, he still saw no change. His uneasiness gradually transformed into madness, and he continued chasing the captain. Because of the statue's special material, if the nose truly could not recover, the missing part would never be repaired, no matter how many years passed. Whenever members of the C-Corps race used or saw the 7th ancestral corpse statue, they would repeatedly experience the humiliation of seeing its permanently missing nose. If the intruders truly possessed the ability to permanently destroy part of the statue, then they might also possess the ability to erase the future of the entire C-Corps race. The consequences of this incident were so great that they could even surpass the war with the 7 Blood Eyes. The Golden Core boy therefore completely lost control and became utterly insane in his pursuit of the captain. Meanwhile, Xu Qing's heart pounded as he fled at full speed. Fortunately, the Golden Core boy's target was not him, so the cultivators chasing him were all foundation-building cultivators. Even so, Xu Qing had no time to rest. More than 20 C-Corps race cultivators had activated their mystic brilliance forms and were pursuing him. Most of them were at the 2-fire level, and one had reached 3 fires. That 3-fire cultivator was an old man who gave Xu Qing tremendous pressure. Normally, a 3-fire cultivator could catch up to a 2-fire cultivator almost instantly. However, Xu Qing's powerful physical body and activated life lantern allowed him to resist the difference in cultivation. Even so, The distance between them was rapidly shrinking. Xu Qing knew that if he were caught, it would be extremely difficult to deal with so many foundation-building cultivators. Especially since this wave of pursuit would not be the end. The energy fluctuations from the forbidden area had already spread outside, and there was no need to guess how furious the C-Corp's race would become. Other Golden Core experts might even appear. Xu Qing's scalp went numb at the thought of this. He clearly understood that he and the captain had gone too far this time. Moreover, because he was still inside the forbidden area space, he could not use his disordered teleportation talisman. He first had to leave the forbidden area. Xu Qing realized that his only solution was to open more magic apertures and form a second ball of life fire. Once the second life fire was formed, combined with his life lantern, it would be equivalent to him possessing the power of 3 fires. With the body he had refined through Golden Crow refines all life. Xu Qing was confident that he could suppress ordinary 3 fire cultivators. He even felt that he could break the concept that foundation-building cultivators could not fight across realms and challenge a 4-fire cultivator. With this thought, Xu Qing mobilized the blood-colored spirit liquid that had filled his dantian and directed it toward his 50th magic aperture. His entire body trembled as the 50th aperture instantly opened, giving him more magic power and increasing his speed. However, he did not stop. In the next breath, his body rumbled like thunder, and the sound spread through the surroundings, causing the hearts of the pursuers behind him to tremble. His magic power continued to surge as the 51st, 52nd, and 53rd magic apertures were blasted open one after another. The blood-colored spirit liquid continued surging violently, allowing the 54th and 55th apertures to open in rapid succession. He continued opening one aperture with every breath. 7 breaths later, the 56th magic aperture opened, and on the 8th breath, the 57th opened as well. The magic power within his entire body rumbled. His life fire burned even more intensely, and his aura formed a terrifying storm that caused the expressions of the C-Corp's race cultivators behind him to change. The 3-fire C-Corp's race cultivator was especially shocked, seeing that merely opening magic apertures could create such terrifying pressure. He gritted his teeth and activated a secret art. His speed suddenly increased, causing everything around him to seem slower as he rapidly approached Xu Qing. He then shouted for Xu Qing to die. At this critical moment, Xu Qing's eyes turned red. He could no longer hold anything back and used his physical strength to erupt all the red spirit liquid within his body at once. With madness in his eyes, he desperately ordered his magic apertures to open. In the blink of an eye, shocking explosions rang out within his body as the 58th, 59th, and 60th magic apertures opened. The spirit liquid continued to rampage through his body until the 65th magic aperture was opened. Xu Qing then shouted for his life fire to form. Countless threads of power rose from the 31st to the 60th magic apertures and rapidly gathered within his body. As the flames around him erupted violently, the second ball of life fire was finally formed, illuminating his heavenly palace. After infiltrating the C-Corp's race's territory and being pursued by their Golden Core cultivator along with numerous 3-life fire cultivators, Xu Qing decided to break through to the 2-life fire realm in order to escape. Xu Qing's 65 magic apertures transformed into 65 spinning vortices inside his body, producing continuous rumbling sounds. At the same time, his second ball of life fire appeared. Its light reflected the first ball of life fire in his dantian, causing the heavenly palace to become even clearer. The burning of the 65 magic apertures released terrifying power, causing the 2 balls of life fire to transform into a vast sea of flames. As the flames spread outward, the surrounding air distorted under the indescribably high temperature. Xu Qing felt as if an entire continent were burning inside his body rather than merely a volcano. The pursuing C-Corp's race cultivators were immediately affected. Several heavily injured 2-fires cultivators cried out miserably as the dazzling light from Xu Qing's life fires directly burned their eyes, causing blood to flow from them. Even the recovered 2-fires cultivators felt their minds shake violently. Their cultivation bases fluctuated, and their life fires showed signs of extinguishing under the overwhelming pressure. The 3-fires cultivator was also shaken by powerful emotions that eventually turned into horror, causing him to involuntarily slow down. 1 ball of life fire represented the early-stage foundation building realm, while 2 balls represented the mid-stage foundation building realm. Therefore, With the formation of his second ball of life fire, Xu Qing instantly advanced from the early-stage foundation-building realm to the mid-stage foundation-building realm. Although this appeared to be only a small realm breakthrough, the difference between cultivation realms in the Huanggu continent was enormous, especially after reaching foundation building. Just as a cultivator with the mystic brilliance form could easily kill one without it, and a 2 fires cultivator could overwhelm a 1 fire cultivator, the difference between Xu Qing's previous and current strength was extremely significant. Because of his life lantern, Xu Qing's 2 fires combat strength was already comparable to that of a late-stage foundation-building cultivator with 3 fires. Combined with the emperor-level golden crow refines all life, the improvement in his strength was astonishing. Flames raged across his body, the surrounding space distorted, and a terrifying pressure spread in every direction. Most of the pursuers behind him stopped. Even the 3 fires cultivator took a deep breath and decided that he was no longer willing to continue chasing Xu Qing. At that moment, Xu Qing suddenly turned around. His eyes were filled with intense killing intent. His speed was so fast that the 2 fires cultivators could not see him at all, while even the 3 fires cultivator could barely follow his movements. As a late-stage foundation-building cultivator with extensive combat experience, the 3 fires cultivator reacted decisively. He bit the tip of his tongue, spat out a mouthful of blue blood, and chose to burn his magic apertures. As a renowned heaven chosen of the Sea Corpse race, he had opened 92 magic apertures. All 92 erupted simultaneously, causing his 3 flames to burn even more fiercely. However, his expression still changed drastically. In this state, he could finally see some of Xu Qing's movements and realized that Xu Qing's target was not him, but the injured 2 fires Sea Corpse cultivators behind him. Xu Qing's strength was already comparable to that of a 3 fires cultivator, while his physical body had been refined by Golden Crow refines all life. His speed had therefore reached the absolute limit of what a foundation-building cultivator could unleash. He instantly appeared before an injured 2 fires Sea Corpse cultivator and directly smashed into him. The cultivator's body collapsed like fragile paper, with flesh and brain matter exploding outward. Xu Qing immediately appeared before another 2 fires cultivator and rammed into him. He continued attacking the 3rd, 4th, and 5th targets in succession. He then raised his right hand, causing a fire dagger to appear. As he passed by another 2 fires cultivator, the dagger slashed across the opponent's neck, sending the head flying while blood spurted into the air. At the same time, the Diamond Sect's ancestor controlled the black iron stick and unleashed terrifying lightning toward the other foundation-building cultivators. The shadow also spread outward and formed a domain. Countless eyes appeared on the ground and continuously absorbed the anomalous substances within the bodies of the Sea Corpse cultivators caught inside the domain. The entire massacre lasted only 7 or 8 breaths. During this extremely short period, half of the dozens of Sea Corpse race cultivators were killed. Some had their bodies explode apart, while others lost their heads. The surviving Sea Corpse race members were filled with obvious terror and immediately retreated without hesitation. At that moment, another cry rang out. The golden crow appeared behind Xu Qing and coldly swept its gaze across the surroundings before flying out from his side. Its powerful tail flames transformed into iron chains that shot toward the remaining enemies. Xu Qing also attacked again, although he had not yet escaped the forbidden area and could still face danger at any moment. Once he had made his move, his instinct was to kill everyone present. He stomped heavily on the ground, and his powerful body shot forward at an even more terrifying speed, heading directly toward the retreating 3 fires foundation-building cultivator. The 3 fires cultivator's pupils contracted, knowing that he could not dodge. His expression turned malevolent and crazed. He stopped retreating, caused all 92 magic apertures in his body to erupt once again, and directly exploded 2 of them. The destructive power produced by the destruction of the 2 apertures caused his strength to rise sharply, and he charged fiercely toward Xu Qing. At the same time, countless white bone hands stretched out from the ground and the surrounding void, rapidly wrapping around Xu Qing. There were so many skeletal hands that they formed a small sea of bones. The 3 fires cultivator then spat out another mouthful of blue blood. The blood transformed into a blue flying sword carrying an astonishing baleful aura and tremendous might, immediately locking onto Xu Qing. He then performed another hand seal and slapped his chest. His body became blurry, Overlapping shadows appeared, and he split into 4 identical bodies that attacked Xu Qing from 4 directions. Xu Qing coldly snorted. The flames within his body erupted again, violently colliding with the surrounding skeletal hands. At the same time, he raised his right hand and ruthlessly slammed it down. The heavenly saber immediately appeared above his head. After his breakthrough, the saber was much faster and more powerful than before, and it instantly collided with the incoming blue flying sword. At the moment of impact, Xu Qing violently punched to the side and struck one of the approaching clones. The clone was sent rolling backward while spitting blood. Xu Qing immediately caught up and drove his knee into it with all his strength. The sound of bones and flesh collapsing rang out as half of the clone's body exploded. Xu Qing then spat out a mouthful of black fiendish fire, which transformed into a sea of flames and completely enveloped another clone. A mournful cry soon came from within the flames. Meanwhile, the third clone had already approached. Its eyes were filled with madness. The moment it got close, its body began to rot on its own. Its flesh melted at a speed visible to the naked eye and eventually condensed into a black nail that shot toward Xu Qing's head. A strange glint appeared in Xu Qing's eyes. The Three Fires cultivator possessed many unusual methods, especially this black nail, which contained a trace of soul-suppressing power. Xu Qing immediately raised his hand and grabbed the nail directly. The black nail struggled violently in his grasp, but it was unable to break free. At that moment, the distant void distorted, and the true body of the Three Fires cultivator was revealed. He immediately turned and attempted to escape. However, the moment he retreated, his body suddenly stopped. Horror appeared in his eyes, but a sinister laugh came from his mouth. He quickly ran several steps toward Xu Qing, knelt down on one knee, and handed over his storage bag. After that, he broke his own neck. Popping sounds echoed from his body as his magic apertures began to explode. Xu Qing immediately spread his fiendish fire over the old man and absorbed his soul. The golden crow had already finished cleaning up the other enemies and happily returned to suck up the blood of the Three Fires cultivator. The old man's body trembled as the fear in his eyes transformed into despair. In the next instant, his soul was extracted from his body, causing his body to wither. The qi and blood contained within his entire body were refined into a single drop, which then entered the golden crow's mouth. The shadow also enjoyed a full meal and became satisfied. Only the diamond sect's ancestor felt disappointed. An intense sense of danger rose in his heart, and no matter how he looked at the situation, he felt that he had become unnecessary. He realized that if this continued, he would eventually be unable to escape the fate of becoming cannon fodder. He sensed the spirit liquid stored in his blood pool and decided that once they escaped, he would find an opportunity to continue breaking through. The shadow and the golden crow were both gradually becoming stronger, which was a clear manifestation of the effects of the spirit liquid on their bodies. The shadow could now even devour the shadow of a Three Fires cultivator, while the golden crow's abilities had also clearly strengthened, continuously increasing the enhancement it provided to Xu Qing's physical body. Xu Qing took a deep breath and concluded that this trip had been worthwhile. He then headed directly toward the exit of the forbidden area. As he sped forward, he thought about the captain and sighed that being pursued by a golden core cultivator proved that the captain was indeed an extremely ferocious person. Although the danger this time was immense, the captain had attracted most of the hatred. Otherwise, Xu Qing believed that even more cultivators would have been pursuing him. Xu Qing used all his strength to rush toward the exit. Just as he was about to reach it, his pupils suddenly contracted. Without waiting for any instructions, the Diamond Sect's ancestor entered the exit vortex first to investigate the situation. Miao Chen, a Dao child of the Sea Corpse race, appears at the exit of the vortex and reveals that he has captured the Diamond Sect's ancestor. While Xu Qing's shadow secretly hides nearby and attempts to approach Miao Chen's shadow, Miao Chen explains that Xu Qing's companion is being pursued by Elder Yingling and cannot escape. Then calmly asks Xu Qing to give him the Diamond Sect's ancestor's artifact spirit. Xu Qing refuses to respond and continues observing the surroundings, realizing that teleportation is still restricted and that he must move farther away from the exit. Miao Chen declares that Xu Qing will become his spoils of war. But Xu Qing calls him talkative and suddenly attacks. Xu Qing ignites his life fires and life lantern, activates the golden crow totem, and unleashes a powerful punch enhanced by the fiendish fire soul-devouring art and his immense physical strength. However, Just as Miao Chen is about to counterattack, the giant red lingzi beneath him turns black and opens numerous eyes, creating a strange force that momentarily restrains him. At the same time, the black iron stick breaks free from the black fog after the diamond sect's ancestor destroys several lightning runes to increase its power, then flies toward Miao Chen's neck while emitting mind-shaking bell chimes. The diamond sect's ancestor had deliberately allowed himself to be captured so he could wait for Shu Qing to attack before revealing his true strength and launching a surprise attack together with Shu Qing and the shadow. Miao Chen is unable to dodge Shu Qing's punch and summons a palm-sized jade coffin above his head. The coffin releases treasure light that forms a protective barrier. But Shu Qing's punch still sends Miao Chen flying backward. The diamond sect's ancestor pursues him and stabs at him with the black iron stick, causing lightning to penetrate the barrier and bombard Miao Chen's body, while the shadow appears behind him and devours anomalous substances from his body. Shu Qing continues attacking relentlessly, punching the protective barrier and slashing with the heavenly saber until Miao Chen is thrown 1,000 feet away and crashes into a deep pit. Miao Chen orders the surrounding Sea Corpse race cultivators to stay back and emerges in a fury, igniting his second, third, and fourth life fires. As a Dao child, he had opened 120 magic apertures and possessed 4 life fires. He had originally been in closed-door cultivation, but the crisis within the Sea Corpse race, or perhaps his curiosity, had caused him to come out, embarrassed by being immediately suppressed by Shu Qing's combined attacks and strange methods. Miao Chen erupts with his full strength. Shu Qing also approaches again, possessing the cultivation of 3 fires through his life lantern and reaching true combat strength equivalent to 4 fires with Golden Crow refines all life. Miao Chen unleashes countless droplets of black liquid that gather into a black sea and sweep toward Shu Qing, forming a gigantic mouth that attempts to devour him. Knowing that he cannot remain there for long, Shu Qing erupts with the spirit sea from his 65 magic apertures, forming a magic power pool spanning 10.000 feet, and uses his dense magic power to suppress Miao Chen. The black sea immediately collapses, and Shu Qing's magic power pool dissipates. Miao Chen then suddenly appears before Shu Qing and grabs toward his heart. But Shu Qing dodges and strikes him with his knee. The diamond sect's ancestor attacks from the side with the black iron stick, releasing all its lightning runes and detonating more than 10 of them to increase its power before stabbing toward Miao Chen's neck. As Miao Chen attempts to dodge, the shadow once again rises from the ground, while Shu Qing also unleashes his speed and fiendish fire, striking toward Miao Chen's forehead. At the critical moment, Miao Chen releases the full power of his 4 life fires, creating a powerful impact and cultivation suppression that sends the diamond sect's ancestor rolling back and causes Shu Qing's internal organs to shake. The shadow is also scattered, but a strand of it touches Miao Chen's body, infiltrates his dantian, and pounces toward one of his life fires. The life fire immediately begins to sway as if it is about to be extinguished. Miao Chen's mind is violently shaken, and his life fires erupt while the heavenly palace faintly manifests to suppress the shadow and prevent the life fire from being extinguished. Because Miao Chen is forced to focus on stopping the shadow, Shu Qing gains the decisive opportunity. Without caring about exposing his abilities, Shu Qing summons the Golden Crow behind him as black flames surge into the sky and descend upon Miao Chen. The Golden Crow lets out a shocking cry and pounces forward, covering Miao Chen in black flames and fiercely sucking at his head. Shu Qing intends to refine the Sea Corpse race Dao child alive. Using the opportunity created by the shadow, the battle unfolds at extreme speed, and although Miao Chen appears to be suppressed, he is actually extremely powerful, forcing Shu Qing to use every method available to create this decisive opening. As Golden Crow refines all life devours him, Miao Chen lets out a mournful cry and, for the first time, shows horror in his eyes. His qi and blood are rapidly extracted. His head begins to melt. His right ear disappears, and the right side of his face is completely disfigured. Seeing this, the expressions of the distant Sea Corpse race cultivators change, and despite Miao Chen's order, they rush toward the battle. The Sea Corpse race's Dao child, Miao Chen, used the jade coffin once again. As it opened, a sea of light spread out and a finger extended toward Shu Qing. Shu Qing immediately sensed extreme danger and retreated, while Miao Chen also quickly withdrew. However, the Diamond sect's ancestor, feeling increasingly anxious after repeatedly suffering setbacks and seeing the Shadow's contributions, sacrificed several lightning runes to increase his speed and pierced through Miao Chen's arm. Blood gushed out, and Miao Chen was severely injured, although Xu Qing had gained the upper hand through his storm-like attacks. The strange abilities of the Shadow, and the strength of his body refined by Golden Crow refines all life. He knew that Miao Chen's true combat strength was far greater, since he had failed to kill Miao Chen and could no longer remain. Xu Qing immediately fled with the Shadow and the Black Iron Stick. Many Sea Corpse race cultivators chased after him, but the poison Xu Qing had scattered took effect, causing more than half of them to spit out blood and stop. Miao Chen, who was also poisoned, was protected by his clansmen and became furious. He had once been a Heaven's Chosen of the Spirit Jade race who had sensed 120 magic apertures. But after dying unexpectedly, he became a Sea Corpse, was valued by the Sea Corpse race, entered the King's sequence, and eventually reached the Four Fires realm. He had never suffered such humiliation apart from his own death. His face was disfigured and his right ear had melted, which was especially unbearable for someone who cared greatly about his appearance. Burning with killing intent, he swore to kill Xu Qing and pursued him. At that moment, 3 powerful golden core auras erupted from the distant sky. Xu Qing sensed the overwhelming danger and fled at full speed. He also learned from the furious roar behind him that the golden core boy who had previously pursued the captain had failed to capture him. This made Xu Qing even more worried about the captain, who had been treated as the main culprit and had attracted the attention of countless Sea Corpse race cultivators. The Diamond sect's ancestor then detonated another 7 or 8 lightning runes, greatly increasing their speed and allowing Xu Qing to cross 1,000 feet and leave the forbidden area. As the divine senses of the Golden Core experts swept across the surroundings, Xu Qing activated a disorder teleportation talisman. A powerful 3-headed, 6-armed Sea Corpse cultivator used a divine ability to seal the space around him. But the talisman ignored the restriction and began forming teleportation fluctuations. The Golden Core cultivator then crushed a special bead and used the word, break, causing the teleportation talisman to be destroyed. The resulting force contained an intent capable of destroying everything, causing Xu Qing's flesh to wither and tear apart. Xu Qing activated his final disorder teleportation talisman. At the same time, he summoned his magic ship to block the attack. The ship was destroyed, but the trace of blinding flesh inside it blocked the extermination will and transformed an attack that should have killed Xu Qing into a severe injury. Xu Qing spat out blood. His bones shattered, his life fires were extinguished, his body withered, and his soul became unstable. Nevertheless, the last teleportation talisman, refined by the Deputy Peak Lord of the 7th Peak and created by a nascent soul cultivator, finally activated after being used twice in succession. Xu Qing disappeared in a burst of teleportation power just before the Golden Core expert arrived. The Golden Core cultivator concluded that Xu Qing's identity was extraordinary because he possessed 2 teleportation talismans refined by a nascent soul cultivator. However, he believed that Xu Qing would die within 3 days after being struck by his spirit nether curse. Meanwhile, the captain was hiding nearby inside a distortion of space. His body was covered in injuries. One arm was crippled, and a huge wound at his waist nearly split him in 2. He held a rainbow-colored shell that concealed his existence and aura. After watching Xu Qing teleport away, he was stunned and began to wonder whether the destruction of the 7th ancestral corpse statue's nose was connected to the bite he had taken. He recalled that the old man had never mentioned such a result and then proudly thought that this might mean he was even better than the old man. However, when the auras of Golden Core and even nascent soul cultivators erupted, he immediately lowered himself to the ground and moved cautiously, worried that his injuries would cause his body to split apart. 3 days later, the entire Sea Corpse race remained enraged and continued searching everywhere. The 7th ancestral corpse statue's nose still had not recovered, causing the Sea Corpse race to suffer immense humiliation. The Golden Core boy, Ying Ling, stood before the statue with his head lowered beside a middle-aged winged cultivator named Marquis Anzhou. Marquis Anzhou explained that the king was furious when the cultivators attempting to repair the statue reported that the damage was extremely strange and could not be repaired, with perhaps only the 2 missing pieces offering hope. Marquis Anzo fell silent before asking whether this meant that the C-Corp's race's holy seventh ancestral corpse statue would have to display its noseless appearance before all its clansmen from then on. The wind was gentle and the sun was bright as waves rolled across the Black Sea. Swordfishes occasionally leapt from the water, stirring up waves that reflected rainbow-colored light, although the scenery appeared peaceful. This sea region was close to the C-Corp's race's territory, because of the war and the dense anomalous substances in the area. There were few merchant ships and many powerful sea beasts. A terrifying mosasaur moved rapidly beneath the sea, causing other sea beasts to flee. However, it was not a real living creature but a spell created by Qing. He was sitting cross-legged inside it while a black canopy of flames concealed his aura. Qing had escaped from the C-Corp's race, but his condition was extremely serious. His clothes were tattered, many parts of his body were sunken, his aura was unstable, and an illusory black thread had embedded itself deep within his flesh and blood. Wherever the thread passed, his flesh withered, and it constantly obstructed his recovery. This black thread had come from the golden core C-Corp's cultivator with 3 heads and 6 arms. Although Qing had escaped, the thread had appeared inside his body afterward. 10 days had passed since the nose of the C-Corp's race's 7th ancestral corpse statue collapsed. During this period, Qing had been constantly fleeing in the mosasaur, but his injuries recovered extremely slowly because of the black thread. Even burning his life fires could not destroy it. The life lantern could suppress the thread because it feared its power. But Qing's cultivation was insufficient to unleash the lantern's full strength. So he could only prevent the thread from becoming active. Qing therefore used the black umbrella to conceal its aura and continuously refined it with golden crow refines all life. He also relied on the life lantern to suppress it and eventually arranged for the shadow to devour it. After another 7 days, the combined power of these 3 methods finally caused the black thread to completely dissipate. The moment it vanished, Qing vomited a large mouthful of black blood. He quickly stored the blood in a small bottle before it could contaminate the mosasaur and the surrounding seawater. After carefully examining the blood, Qing discovered that it contained countless black bugs that were extremely difficult to detect with the naked eye. He realized that the black thread had actually been formed from a large number of these tiny bugs. Qing decided to study the blood carefully, believing that it might become one of his trump cards. Once the black thread was gone, his injuries began to recover rapidly. During his recovery, Qing recalled the harvest from his journey. When he sensed the 65 magic apertures burning within his body, he felt that everything had been worth it. Among the items in his storage bag was an irregular object more than 100 feet in size. It was actually a piece of the nose of the C-Corp's race's 7th ancestral corpse statue. After leaving the C-Corp's race's territory, its material had turned gray, and its mysterious aura had disappeared. Even so, Qing could not bear to throw it away because it was part of the C-Corp's race's holy item and might still have another use. Qing did not realize how serious the consequences of his actions would become. In his opinion, he and the captain had merely swallowed some spirit liquid, while the captain had bitten the statue's toe and caused internal instability that led to the collapse of its nose. Qing knew that the 9 ancestral corpse statues possessed extremely powerful recovery abilities. So he assumed that the statue might already have recovered. As for the captain, Qing firmly believed that he would not die so easily. While healing, Qing continued controlling the merfolk dragon toward the merfolk island. His goal was to return to the 7 blood eyes. However, the distance was extremely far, and traveling directly could take more than a year. Therefore, using the teleportation array on the merfolk island was the most convenient method. As a participant in the war, Qing could also use the teleportation system for free. At the same time, the entire C-Corp's race was thrown into a massive uproar. News that the nose of the 7th ancestral corpse statue had disappeared spread rapidly throughout their territory and ignited the fury of the entire race. This was especially true for those who had been transformed by the 7th ancestral corpse, because they possessed a subtle connection with it. To them, the disappearance of its nose represented the greatest humiliation. Their anger reached its peak when the investigation confirmed that the culprits were merely foundation-building disciples of the 7 blood eyes. In the eyes of an entire race, such cultivators were extremely weak. The C-Corp's race could not accept that 2 low-level cultivators had entered their base camp, committed such an outrageous act. and escaped. Ordinary clansmen, nobles, the king, and ancient experts all became furious. This anger soon affected the war against the Seven Blood Eyes. Many Sea Corps race members fought with reckless fury. Although their fighting spirit became stronger, their battle formations also became unstable. Their commanders were unable to fully control this emotional outburst, turning their anger into a double-edged sword. The Seven Blood Eyes immediately seized the opportunity and increased the intensity of its attacks, causing the scale of the war to expand rapidly within half a month. The higher-ups of the Seven Blood Eyes were initially surprised by the sudden change in the Sea Corps race's behavior. After learning the truth, they were shocked that two of their disciples had caused such a huge disturbance. The Peak Lords immediately looked toward Old Master Seventh, because they believed that only disciples of the Seventh Peak would be capable of causing such trouble. 60 years earlier, Old Master Seventh had also committed a similar act. Although it had been far less astonishing, Old Master Seventh was stunned, and his expression became strange, as though he had already thought of something. But he did not say anything. Regardless, the incident greatly boosted the momentum of the Seven Blood Eyes. The ancestor was extremely pleased and personally declared that the two disciples who had accomplished such a great deed would receive significant contributions. However, before the Seven Blood Eyes could investigate and identify the two disciples, the Sea Corps race had already uncovered their identities and updated its wanted list. Previously, Shui Lianzi had been ranked first, Old Master Seventh second, followed by several Peak Lords and Deputy Peak Lords. Golden Core cultivators only appeared after more than 10 other names. But the new wanted list completely changed the rankings. Chen Niu, the captain, was now ranked first. He was identified as a disciple of the Seventh Peak and the director of the Homicide Department. The Sea Corps race declared him the main culprit responsible for blaspheming its ancestral corpse and ordered its members to tear him apart and devour his flesh and blood if they encountered him. Whoever killed him would receive the Sea Corps race's Great Dao inheritance, the King's Sequence, the right to choose 10 items from the treasure vault, and 100 million spirit stones. Xu Qing was ranked second. He was identified as a disciple of the Seventh Peak and the deputy director of the Homicide Department. The Sea Corps race considered him an accomplice in the blasphemy against its ancestral corpse and ordered its members to kill him upon sight. His reward included the King's Sequence, the right to choose 10 items from the treasure vault, and 70 million spirit stones. The Seven Blood Eyes ancestor, Shui Lianzi, was ranked third on the newly updated wanted list. The war between the Seven Blood Eyes and the Sea Corps race had continued for half a year, expanding in scale as more allies joined. The front line kept advancing and shifting, while the conflict also affected other areas of the Forbidden Sea. Strategic bases were established in the territories of many non-human races, and numerous small-scale battles broke out. Because of the war's enormous scale, many races began paying attention to the conflict. Therefore, the sudden change in the wanted list for Xu Qing and Chen Niu attracted the attention of nearly every race in the Forbidden Sea. Their names quickly became known among countless non-human races, humanoid races, and human forces, and discussions about them intensified. The enormous bounty offered by the Sea Corps race tempted many people, including even some experts from the Seven Blood Eyes. Anyone who completed the mission could receive the reward, regardless of their race or whether they were a disciple of the Seven Blood Eyes. The Sea Corps race could even transform the successful hunter into one of its own clansmen, allowing them to enter the King's Sequence. The Sea Corps race would then concentrate its resources on that person, making the reward extremely attractive. Although the transformation carried a certain risk and was not guaranteed to succeed, the rewards were still considered worth it. Members of the King's Sequence possessed the status of true crown princes and were known externally as Dao children. Miao Chen, whose face had been severely damaged by Xu Qing, was currently the only known member of the Sea Corps race's King's Sequence. Thus, the bounty placed on Xu Qing and the captain was unprecedented, demonstrating the Sea Corps race's anger and determination. Their objective was clearly either to kill Xu Qing and the captain or make it impossible for them to move safely through the Forbidden Sea in the future by surrounding them with enemies. Since most of these enemies would conceal their true motives, Xu Qing and the captain would find it difficult to distinguish friend from foe and would be forced to remain constantly vigilant. At that moment, however, Xu Qing was unaware of everything happening outside. He was inside the mosasaur's body and traveling toward the merfolk island. His identity token could no longer receive information from the outside world because he was too far from the island, which allowed him to focus more deeply on recovering from his injuries. After about 20 days, Xu Qing finally recovered completely. Although his magic ship had already collapsed, he did not leave the mosasaur, since using it for travel was the most convenient and effortless method. When he was still 7 or 8 days away from the merfolk island, Xu Qing wondered whether the captain had escaped and how the Sea Corpse race had dealt with the situation. He also reflected on his own repeated injuries and felt that he could not continue acting so recklessly, or he might die before the captain. Xu Qing understood the contradiction between wanting to survive in the cruel world and needing to fight desperately to become stronger. In the end, he felt that he was still too weak. He recalled his battle with Miao Chen, the Sea Corpse race's 4 Fires Heavens chosen, who was the first true 4 Fires cultivator he had encountered. Although the captain had once displayed similar signs while being pursued by the Golden Core Boy, Xu Qing's understanding of the captain's strange cultivation was unclear. Miao Chen, however, truly possessed 4 life fires. Xu Qing believed that such people should be rare, but considering the vastness of the Huanggu continent and the countless races within it, he was not overly surprised. Xu Qing knew that he had gained the advantage against Miao Chen by seizing the initiative. The shadow, the Diamond Sect's ancestor, and the enhancement provided by Golden Crow refines all life had also played crucial roles in allowing him to suppress Miao Chen. If they fought again, Miao Chen would certainly be more vigilant, making it much more difficult for Xu Qing to suppress him. However, Xu Qing also believed that Miao Chen would find it extremely difficult to suppress him. Xu Qing longed for the strength represented by 4 life fires. Having fully entered the mid-stage foundation building realm, combined with his life lantern and the enhancement of Golden Crow refines all life, he could already fight against a 4 Fires cultivator. This combat strength placed him at the peak of the foundation building realm, and he could even escape from a Golden Core cultivator while neutralizing some of the damage. Although others would consider him extremely powerful, Xu Qing was not satisfied. He still had 25 magic apertures left before he could ignite his 3rd life fire. Once he achieved that, then at the foundation building realm, unless he encountered another cultivator with a life lantern, he believed he could suppress everyone and live more safely. However, opening magic apertures through ordinary methods was too slow.